Today we're going to be looking at properties and justifying inequalities. It's very similar to our properties of equalities that we learned when we were solving and justifying equations. So to get started, we have our addition property of equality. So for all numbers a, b, and c, the following are true. So if a is greater than b, then a plus c is greater than b plus c. So we're adding c to both sides. And the same goes if a is less than b. We also have our subtraction property of inequalities. So for all numbers a, b, and c, the following are true. So if a is greater than b, if we subtract c from both sides, our inequality stays the same. And if a is less than b and we subtract c from both sides, our inequality stays the same. Now for multiplication and division, there's the one special case we need to be careful with. So if both sides of a true inequality are multiplied or divided by a positive number, the direction of the inequality sign stays the same. If both sides of a true inequality are multiplied or divided by a negative number, the direction of the inequality sign is reversed. So we know we have to flip the sign if we multiply or divide by a negative number. So let's look at an example. So to start, we're going to solve and justify 7 less than 3x minus 8. So we have our statement and our reasons, and our first is given to us. First thing we need to do is add 8 to both sides. So we're adding 8 to both sides of our inequality, so that's going to be our addition property of inequality. Next, we have 7 plus 8 we know is 15, and then the negative 8 plus 8 cancel out to give us 0. So we have two properties happening. We have substitution, where the 7 plus 8 is, and then the additive inverse on the other side. Next, we know we're going to have to divide by 3. Now we're dividing both sides by positive 3, so we don't have to flip the sign. And that's going to be our division property of inequality. Next, we know 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. And again, we have two properties, substitution and multiplicative inverse happening. Try this one on your own. Right, let's look at another example. So we have negative 5 times the quantity of x minus 3 less than or equal to negative 20. So the first thing we notice, we see those parentheses, so we need to distribute that negative 5. So we get negative 5x plus 15 is less than or equal to negative 20, and that's by our distributive property. Our next step is going to be to subtract 15 from both sides. So we get negative 5x plus 15 minus 15 less than or equal to negative 20 minus 15. So that's our subtraction property of inequality. Our next step, we know we can substitute a negative 45, and then positive 15 minus 15 gives us 0. So we have our two properties, our additive inverse and substitution. Next step is we're dividing both sides by negative 5. So when we divide by negative, that's going to be still our division property of inequality. That doesn't change. But in our next step, we have to remember to flip the sign. So negative 5 divided by negative 5 gives us 1x, and negative 45 divided by negative 5 gives us positive 9. And that is by our multiplicative inverse and substitution. Try this one on your own.